So I want to cover a couple of topics during this session today. Um, the first one is services, um, and then we're going to talk about business to business marketing and the sales process. So it's important to remember when we're talking about the product P that there are both physical goods and services. And that's why sometimes people use a more broader term, offerings, instead of product. But of course, the word product sort of gets used because it falls under the four P's and starts with the letter P. So that's where that comes from. Um, but when I talk about services, there are lots of different types of services that are out there. So there are lots of business services. This could be shipping. This could be environmental services. This could be marketing and agency services, supply chain services, printing, prototyping, delivery services, consulting. So lots of different kinds of services um, that are used from a business to business perspective. There are also consumer services. So this would be things like carpenters or DoorDash, food delivery, plumbing, um, home security, lawn care, pet services. So lots of different services that consumers use. And then I think there's sort of a little bit of a special case of services, which is retail. So remember that when you go to a supermarket and you buy a Hershey bar, Hershey made that Hershey bar for you. They're the manufacturer. So what is it that the store is providing to you? Well, they're providing you the service of allowing you to shop in their store and get all the things that you might be looking for, sort of in one place. And so you end up with supermarkets or Home Depot, where you're looking at, goods that you need to um, do construction projects, or you're going to Best Buy where you're getting electronics. What they are doing is essentially bringing together all of the different things that you might need for those kinds of projects, or that kind of those kinds of electronics or whatever it is. They are not making those products. They are selling you a service, and that service is to allow you to come into their store and give you the convenience of shopping for, ideally products that are good quality, and they're bringing them together all in one place. The reason I put this in the place section, so we're still talking about the place or distribution P here, is because with services, place is difficult to separate from product. I'll give you an example. Is if you have a car wash, the car wash's place is that it is delivered at a car wash location, and the service is delivered at that location, right? So the distribution of a service is often difficult to separate from it's difficult to separate that from the product or the offering itself. Services can be delivered in a specific location, like a restaurant, a gym, or a retail store or hotels, but they can also be delivered online or remotely. Think about Netflix as a streaming service, right? You're not buying anything, you're not buying a physical product. So you are accessing their product online. So the place is online, but excuse me, the product is essentially online streaming. So again, hard to separate. And in some cases, the delivery of the product to your house is the service. So think about DoorDash. So the part of the distribution process of getting the product, meaning the food that you buy from a restaurant to your house, is a service that is offered by DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever. When we think about services, we have to think about the way the services are delivered. And there are a number of aspects to how a service is delivered. There are the tangibles up at the top there. This is anything that physical objects that are delivered to you, or a clean car, something that from a car wash, or the movie that you are getting from a streaming service, etc. There is an assurance issue, which has to do with, the do you believe that it is high quality? Do you believe that it is, going to work? All that kind of stuff is going to deliver what it is you're paying for. Responsiveness plays into the service. How easy is it for you to get an answer if you have a question, or if you need to get a refund, or if you need to get help from the people providing the service to you, to essentially take advantage of the service they're offering. So how responsive is that company to your needs? This is particularly true of online companies where there isn't necessarily a human involved. So how responsive, if you have a question, or you have an issue, or your software isn't working, can you easily get on a chat, and so forth? Service reliability. If they say they're going to do something, do they do it? If they're supposed to, if somebody's supposed to deliver, a package of, I don't know, some product to your house every month, do they do it? Do they do it reliably? Does it show up on time? If you buy a car and they say it's going to be available in a week, is it available in a week? Service reliability is really important. And the last piece is empathy. Do they know? Do they seem to care about you? So it's not the services is often, there are physical elements of the service. There are sort of elements of sort of knowledge and quality and expertise. And there's elements of responsiveness. Are they actually attentive to what they promise to you? Are they reliable? And do they care? That's what we're looking for in service delivery. So service marketing, when you're developing a service, sort of a la, the product development process, you are looking at these pieces of the puzzle. So it says on the right there, service marketing often focuses on how the product is delivered. Its reliability, its consistency. Think about McDonald's. Do I get the same product in every McDonald's, or do I get something different? I'm looking for it to be the same every time. Customer service, are they, do they help me? And their knowledge and expertise plays into it. And this is true for both business to consumer and business to business services. So I thought I would, I have a couple more topics to touch on in this lecture, but I thought I would talk to you a little bit about services in terms of an experience that I had, which was I was working as a VP of marketing at the Cracker Barrel, the restaurant company, during the pandemic. And it was interesting and very challenging for Cracker Barrel, especially in the beginning of the pandemic when restaurants were shutting down. Cracker Barrel basically was a dine-in restaurant. We had a little bit of a to-go business that we were building, but it wasn't huge. We didn't have any relationship with DoorDash or Uber Eats. And so we basically had to very quickly shift our service from a dine-in service that was really all about creating a sense of, the way we would talk about it was a home away from home in the restaurant. And we had to very quickly shift from that dine-in experience of really treating people like, they were at home, to shifted that to being able to deliver to go. Literally, at some point, we asked our store managers to go out and get buckets at Lowe's, fill them with cement, put a post into it, and put a sign out that says, "Call this number. When you get here, park in this space, call this number, and we'll bring out the food to you." Because obviously, during the pandemic, people were, we were trying to avoid having people come into the building and all that kind of stuff. This was a real challenge for Cracker Barrel, not just because they had to do something new that operationally they had never done before, but it was also a challenge because this was a brand that is very much about, this high quality of service that really delivers this sense of care. And it's very difficult to deliver that sense of care when you are putting food into a bag. If there's something missing, there's no opportunity. So one of the things that happens in restaurants all the time is, you forget the syrup or you forget the ketchup, and at Cracker Barrel you have a server who can come back to your table, ask if anything's missing, and take care of you. And if you have an issue, but you can't, that is it. You can't really fix that if the package has already left the building and has gone to somebody's home. And so this was a real problem for us. Missing items was a real problem because we weren't able to always make sure that everything was getting into the packaging. So get that issue of reliability. We were not great at reliability. The other thing is that the food, by the time it gets to your house, it wasn't good. Some food actually travels very well and maintains its heat. Cracker Barrel's food, not particularly true. Pancakes don't tend to sort of maintain their heat very long in the car on the way to your house, or in a DoorDasher's car, or whatever. So the food quality wasn't as good. You didn't have the opportunity to have this kind, friendly service. And we were making mistakes, missing items, and in many cases, because the stores just weren't used to doing that kind of work, they were late and taking too long. And so really had a negative impact on Cracker Barrel's brand image, because we were struggling to deliver the level of service and the quality of connection and care that people expected from us. So very challenging for Cracker Barrel to do this. Definitely not the best circumstances to sort of learn a new operational ability to deliver to-go products during the middle of a national health crisis, obviously. So on the right there, the summary: services reflect a broad range of offerings, from consumer retail and hospitality like restaurants and hotels to a range of business services. With services, the place and distribution elements often become part of the offering, like in a gym or restaurant. And the service elements have to be aligned with the brand and the strategy in order to maintain trust. I think I shared with you in a previous session that Cracker Barrel was, at the same time, all of this challenges of trying to deliver this, these to-go experiences, where we started talking about how we take care of our guests, and they didn't feel like they were taken care of. So there was a mismatch between the brand strategy and what we were actually delivering, which is a very fast way to erode trust. And we talked about this idea of trust is the core of brand marketing. Like, if you want to really be able to do kind of the kind of marketing that, say, Coca-Cola does or Olive Garden does, or what Cracker Barrel tries to do, is you have to have a high level of trust that the consumer knows that exactly what they're going to get when they go to a Cracker Barrel or when they buy a Coca-Cola or whatever it is. If you aren't consistently delivering that, you are going to very quickly burn trust and get to the point where customers don't trust you and they don't come back. So this was a really challenging time for Cracker Barrel, and to be honest, their guest satisfaction scores didn't recover at least until 2024. Certainly when I was there, they hadn't recovered, and they may still not. I don't know the data, but they may still not have recovered completely even to this day, because people sort of have lost their their sense of Cracker Barrel is always delivers care and delivers a high quality experience. So the last topic I wanted to talk to you about is business to business sales. So business to business sales, often this is the selling of services from one business to another, is not, I guess you would consider it sort of separate from marketing, but it's related to marketing. How you go about creating a customer relationship that leads to a sale is considered in most companies is called sales, but it is really related to marketing in that it really speaks to attract how do you attract business to business clients or customers when you have a service that you are offering um, to them? How do you get them? And it's done on an almost a one-to-one basis. Sometimes you'll hear this idea of personal or consultative selling, which is often used in B2B settings for high ticket or repetitive services, like where I'm actually asking a company to pay sometimes, hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars to pay for, I don't know, Salesforce, which is a type of sales management software, or getting computers for everybody in a company with thousands of employees or whatever it is. Very large contracts. So how does this work? So I'm going to start up at the top there where it says prospecting. So prospecting refers to the idea that I go out and I am looking for potential customers. Typically what I'm going to do is define what's called an ideal customer profile. This is essentially my description of my target consumer for sales. And I'm going to find people that fit that target. So, maybe I'm looking for, IT professionals in a large, mid to large size companies, or I'm looking for restaurant companies that have more than 50 stores or whatever it is. So that's prospecting. I'm going to start looking for names of people that I can talk to. So I want to think about who is it in the business that I should be talking to. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make contact. You often hear about this idea of cold calling or cold outreach. You may have talked about this. Refers to when you are reaching out to people that you don't know at all, but you think they might be interested in your product, and that's pretty tough to do. For a lot of businesses, make small businesses at least. When you make contact, it's much more one-to-one networking. Going to the Chamber of Commerce has networking opportunities, or meeting people that are sent to you via referral, meaning somebody or somebody who's worked with you before sends you a potential client, a prospect to talk to, and you're making contact in various ways through email, through phone calls, etc., to try and sort of make a connection with your potential, this potential client. The next part is called qualifying your prospect. There's a couple dimensions of qualifying. Means I'm trying to figure out, now that I've made contact, is this somebody that I can do business with? So the first question you have to determine is, do they have the problem that you solve? Because if they don't have the problem that you solve, spending time trying to sell them a solution to that problem is a waste of time. The second piece is, do they recognize that they have that problem? So just because somebody has a problem, if they don't realize they have a problem, or they don't care that they have that problem, then they are still not the right person to talk to, and they are essentially not qualified as a customer. So you would stop talking to them. You would sort of put them on a list that you maybe want to recontact later when they might need something. Another thing is, do they have a solution to this problem already? If they've already hired your competitor, there's no point in having too much of a conversation unless you think you can convince them to switch. The next piece of qualification is, do they have money? Do they have enough dollars essentially to invest in your solution? And are they, so you might have the perfect solution for someone, but your solution, is designed for, very large companies and that are willing to spend millions of dollars, and you're talking to a company that's only willing to spend tens of thousands of dollars. They're not going to be a good potential client for you. So you're going to disqualify them from being a potential client. And then beyond that, the other element of qualifying your prospect is, am I talking to the right person? So you could have a really great conversation with somebody in a business who is very interested in solving the problem that you have, and they are willing to spend money, but they may not be the decision maker. It may be that their boss is a decision maker, or somebody in the finance group is a decision maker, or somebody else altogether, the CEO, whatever, is the final decision maker. And so when you're trying to qualify your prospect, you are trying to make sure that they have the problem that you can solve, that they're able to afford your solution, that they are looking for a solution now, and that they are the right person to talk to. At this point, you're going to nurture your prospect. There's a lot of work. Often, what you'll hear some people talk about is the sales cycle. This whole sales cycle that you see here on the screen can, for some businesses, is very, very quick. It can be days or even hours, and for other businesses, it can take, sometimes months, even years of conversation. You're talking about the problem that somebody has. You're trying to understand it. You're sending them, articles and thought leadership pieces. You're having conversations with them because it sometimes takes a very long time to make a decision. And it's not surprising. I mean, sometimes we're talking about decisions where, say you're going to be working with this company for 10 years. And they're spending a lot of money with you. So they want to make sure you're the right vendor for them to work with. If you've appropriately nurtured your prospect, the next piece is you're going to present your offer. Here's all the things that I'm going to deliver to you when you pay for my product, and here's what it's going to cost. Hopefully, if you've done all your homework in the previous stages, that's pretty quick. At this point, because you've done all your homework. What often happens though is that all the dotted I's have not been dotted and the T's have not been crossed, and so they reject your offer. And then what it usually means is something went wrong earlier on. Either you didn't qualify your prospect, or you didn't nurture them properly, etc. The next piece is you overcome objections. So they may say, well, this costs too much, and you have to either explain to them why they should pay more, or you have to, decrease or reduce the amount of service that you're offering, or take something off of the proposal, or you can reduce the price. But there are other objections like we don't think you have enough experience, or you've never worked with our kind of company before, or whatever it is. And so you have to basically listen to those objectives, not be thrown off by them, and try and come up with solutions or answers to those objections to try and get somebody on board. And then the final piece is closing the sale. So if you've overcome all the objections, you've presented your offer, you've nurtured your prospect properly, and they're qualified, and whatever it is, you should be able to close the sale pretty easily. If you can't close the sale, it usually means something went wrong in one of those earlier stages. And then this is shown as a cycle, because as soon as you've closed that sale, actually long before you even close that sale, you need to be doing more prospecting, because the reality is you may talk to 100 different prospects and only get 2 clients out of that. So you need to constantly be talking to more and more people to try and get more clients in. It's also cyclical in the sense that you want to make sure you've delivered a great experience to the client that you just closed with, because you hopefully can get them to buy other products from you, or to renew after a year, or whatever it is. But you're trying to create a situation where you are essentially going to get repeat business. So on the right there, you can see the summary points. Personal or consultative selling is often used in B2B settings for high ticket or repetitive services. The process involves multiple conversations in order to qualify the client. Can we help? Is the first part of qualifying the client. Do they have money, and do they have authority? And ultimately, the goal is to create an agreement. So the example I thought I would share with you is that is my brother and I may have mentioned before, have a company that we just started called Twinning Edge. We focus on using AI and automation to help companies make marketing and business development support more affordable, um, and faster. And we do this again using AI and automation. And our pitch that I like to use when I'm networking is I say, do you ever think I wish I could clone myself? That's what we do, because we essentially use AI to create essentially you take information about the company, et cetera, about their clients, about their products, et cetera, and create essentially a twin, a version of sort of ChatGPT kind of large language model that is able to answer questions and understands, what a marketer or salesperson might need to know about the company, so that twin can act as a resource, but also it can be used to generate articles and other marketing materials that the company can use and post on social media. Um, so the idea of the pitch is, that when I use this pitch, is to get the conversation started, get people interested in hearing more about what what our company does, to try and sort of and to try and have a conversation with them where I can kind of get a sense of, are they somebody who needs what we have to offer. So for me, it's often, have they either are they in the process of trying to hire a marketer, is often a good clue for me, if they are a potential prospect, or they're unhappy with the marketing that they are getting, either with the marketer that they have now or the agency that they have now, because the marketer is focused on the wrong things, or the marketer is not able to get as much done. And so our focus is, how can we actually do more with less, and at less cost. And so that's kind of the way we think about, using sales. We also talk a lot about this idea of creating a business development ecosystem. So one of the things that we think about is, when we work with clients, we are trying to help them create materials, marketing materials, business development support materials that allow them to create more business for themselves, not necessarily using sort of standard traditional marketing techniques of just going out and trying to get people to, using Google Ads or whatever to get people to show up on their website, but actually to create more close connections, referrals, etc., which is the way most small businesses get a lot of their clients. The key to sales on the right there is to get the conversation started, and then qualify if the person you're talking to has the problem, the dollars, and the authority to work with you. It's not enough, though, that they just have the problem. They need to recognize they have the problem and be ready to accept help to fix it. So we often run into people who could absolutely use our services, but they are hesitant because they say, well, we don't know if AI works, or they feel like, I have to have a marketer, so I don't want to hire this sort of AI marketing firm because I have to have a marketer because that's what we've always had, or whatever. If they're not willing to sort of consider doing something different, then they're not qualified, they're not a good prospect for us. So hopefully that gives you an example of how sales works, and a sense of how it relates to marketing.